Joining us now is Langford Cunningham. His is a story that is just as inspiring as it could be. Welcome, Langford Cunningham.
How you doing, Ray? Really appreciate it, giving me the platform to share my story with your fans, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
The pleasure is ours, and I'm going to do something that is not done every day, and that is I'm going to have Langford Cunningham introduce himself via the podcast that he has developed called Blind City, and here it is.
Welcome to Blind City. I had to lose my sight to find my vision.
Are you blind? Are you blind? Open your eyes. They lying every time, so I don't trust men, only trust God. I had to lose my sight before I could see the light.
Welcome to Blind City. I'm your host, Langford Cunningham. This is Blind City, the podcast. We address the issues to help inspire people. For us to move forward, we have to look at humanity, because that's one thing we all have in common. This racism crap has been embedded in America's culture and history. We can't keep passing on this disease to the next generation, because then we're at fault. So we have to stand for something. If not, you will fall for anything. If you don't have no solutions, that means you are the pollution to the community. I'd rather be around the gangsters, the strippers, the streets, because that's where Jesus was at. The only way we're going to make our community better, we got to work together. I'm keeping it 100 today. Blind City. This your host, Langford Cunningham. Let's talk about it. The most dangerous man on the planet is a blind man with a handgun.
Well, I couldn't have done it any better than that. Young man, Langford Cunningham, tell us your story.
Sure, Ray. How you doing? We as people, man, sometimes we get so caught up in our lives, man, especially as men. Ever since we were little boys, we were taught to be responsible, be accountable, be the provider for your family. And as you get older and get your education or get a trade or sometimes work one or two jobs, we get so caught up in our career that we don't pay attention to what's going on with ourselves. And that's what happened to me, sir. I gave 15, 17 years to St. Louis County Juvenile Detention, helping at-risk youth. I had the cars. I had the house in West County. I thought I had everything what a man should have accomplished. But I didn't have one thing. I didn't have a personal relationship with God, sir. I got caught in going out in the streets, going to the nightclubs, the strip clubs, enjoying the materialism of life, and not having a personal relationship with God, and also not paying attention to my health. Glaucoma runs in my family. My father went blind before he died. And I knew of this, but sometimes you think, it won't happen to me. Just like with the youth today. They don't want to wear the mask. That's, a lot of people, they think they're invincible. And I thought I was invincible from the materialism that I've collected through my hard work. And by the time I found out what was going on, I woke up one morning and my eyes were bloodshot red. And I was wondering why my eyes were bloodshot red. And also at this time, I was an alcoholic. I could drink 4 or 5 beers a day, weekends, sometimes 10 beers. So I thought it came from my drinking. So I go to Walgreens and get some stuff to put in my eyes to hopefully it clear up the redness in my eyes. But it never did. So I was like, that's kind of strange. So I finally called an eye doctor and went in. He gave me the glaucoma test, and he pushed the chair back, and I looked at him, and I was like, why is he pushing the chair back? And he said, Mr. Cunningham, does glaucoma run in your family? I said, yes. He said, well, you have it, and you have it severely. Your eye pressure is up to 35 in both eyes. We have to get you into surgery. I went through 31 surgeries.
Unbelievable.
31 surgeries. And also going through the denial that I am losing my sight. I'm going to be blind. And when it happened, it turned my life upside down. I didn't care about the cars no more. I didn't care about the house in West County no more. I didn't care about the women no more. I wanted my sight. but I wasn't able to get it back, sir. I wasn't able to get it back. Then I started thinking about suicide. I was angry. I was bitter with God. Why me? Not taking accountability at that time because you're in denial. When you try to kill yourself, Ray, and you can't do it, that's when I made a U-turn in life. I heard a voice said, "You're not in control, Mr. Cunningham. Not even when you try to kill yourself. You're not in control. I determine when it's time for you to leave here. Now, I'm going to give you two options. One, either you're going to turn and go the other way without me, and I can't promise what will happen when you decide to do that. But if you turn to me, I will show you your next journey in life." And that's when Blind City, the podcast, was created, Ray.
Well, and it's just pure inspiration, and just some of the lines you have in your, as the one you start out with, which is that you had to lose your sight to find your vision,
yes,
is extremely profound, to say the least.
Thank you.
And you're off to how long is Blind City, the podcast? And before we go any further, let me let our listeners know the website is blindcitythepodcast.com.
Correct.
So you can listen along, take a look at the podcast while we're discussing it. It's just, as I say, you are pure inspiration, young man, and
thank you.
The fact that you were able to take a disability that came on and really turn it on its head and serve as an inspiration to others. As you say, walk by faith, not by sight.
Right.
You're a profound guy. You obviously had this shaped by your life before this. You talked about some of the lows, but you also have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, correct? Tell us about that. Where did you go to school?
Yes, sir. I went to Sanford Brown.
Uh-huh.
I went back to school at 42 years old to get my degree.
Good for you. And you were a drug rehabilitation counselor at the state prison?
Yeah, I started out there. Yes, sir.
And you've created projects for juvenile detention?
Yes, sir.
And you've created lesson plans for juvenile delinquents when you were a deputy juvenile officer. You have quite the resume.
Yes, sir.
And now you're getting A-list guests that I don't know if the rest of us can get. You got Cori Bush while she was running for office. Would you say that her appearance on Blind City is what put her over the top? Or
No, I wouldn't say that, but I would say it made people know about her that didn't know about her because she was already putting in the hard work before I came along. But I'm just humble that she took time for a guy she didn't know nothing about to come on the podcast. So I appreciate her for doing that. I'm humble. I
met the young lady 4 years ago at a demonstration. I have not actually had her on this show, and I may need to have you help me get in touch with her. But
no problem.
I listened to that interview. You're a very good interviewer, and from that it sounds like, and you're not afraid to speak your mind.
Oh no, can't. Not doing this time.
You made it clear, for example, that you had I guess it's fair to say your regard in terms of Congress for Lacey Clay's father, the great Bill Clay.
Correct.
Was you had him in a different. At least listening to you talk to Cori Bush, and this is of course before she won, you felt that he had not done what his father had done, and I happen to, Lacey's a friend, but I think you made it pretty clear that you were open to, and would you say supportive of, or certainly sympathetic to Cori Bush's candidacy?
Yes. Well, I just think also it's a lot of politicians, not just Mr. Clay, but we got a lot of politicians that have been in office for so many years, and for the condition of some parts of St. Louis, the way it looked, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And we have to get new people in these seats that really want to make a change, really want to invest in the community. And I just feel when you have 2 or 4, 10, 12, 15 years and your community looks like this, it's shame on you. It's shame on you. For any politician that comes out, their main priority should be helping the people, not the people working for them. You work for the people. And I think that gets twisted in the media. It gets twisted in the environment we're living in, that some of these politicians think we work for them. No, you work for us.
You, Langford Cunningham, had a front row seat with the criminal justice system in your role in Jefferson City. What do you make of the movement, particularly since, well, first of all, the death of Michael Brown, and we should mention that you had Michael Brown Sr. on your podcast recently as well.
Yes, I did. Great interview.
Actually, before I go any further, tell me a little bit about that interview.
That interview, it was after the prosecutor, Wesley Bell, had made his decision when he reopened the investigation, and the community was kind of sad by the decision he made, and then there was questions about, did he really open the investigation? Did he really do a thorough review, or did he just follow up behind the past prosecutor that was in office at that time? And I wanted to interview Mr. Brown Sr. to get his reaction, because sometimes when we see Mr. Brown on the news, you really hear about maybe snippets of him talking. Nobody has really went in depth with him where you can get 30 minutes on how this guy really feels and what he's been through as a person. The focus has been so much on Ferguson and his son and people that came out of that movement. They getting big checks and big money, and this man is really struggling to make a living and dealing with a lot of healthcare issues at the same time. So I really wanted to create a platform for him to come on and really let people know how he felt.
And I started to say you had a front row seat.
Yes,
before I let that kind of did a little detour because I wanted to make sure I got that in. But you had a front row seat with the criminal justice system in Jefferson City. What is your general sense about the amount of people we are incarcerating and particularly people of color in our country?
Well, it's frustrating. I think America is the largest country that locks so many people up compared to the other countries. And that's not the solution. As far as African Americans, it's ripping the community apart for us. You know, a lot of these homes are single parent mothers trying to raise sons in a community that's infested by violence and gangs. And if you expect a single mother to snitch or tell what's going on in her community where she doesn't have no protection from these gangs and people in the streets that are doing these murders, you're leaving her vulnerable. So without the men being there that's being incarcerated, a lot of these single mothers are doing the best they can. Because I hear a lot of people say, well, why the murders? Why they not solving these cases? Well, it's just not just on Kim Gardner solving these cases. You got to have participation to solve cases. But when people live in their own community, they're not willing to tell what's happening because they want to provide safety for themselves and their children. So the incarceration is doing a lot of damage to our community. And at the same time, when you talk about race, we just want to be on a level playing field, just a level playing field. That's all. I mean, don't make drug laws saying in the suburbs if a kid has some drugs, he gets 1 or 2 years in jail because he's from a richer community. But in the poor community, the black kid got to do 15 years for the same drug. That's not a level playing field.
That is true. Let me ask you this. You have just recently started a not-for-profit called Redemption Academy. Tell us a little, which also can be accessed through blindcitythepodcast.com. Tell us a little about that.
Well, I'm so excited about this. This is really where my real work will come in, and I'm blessed that God gave me the vision for it. You know, like I tell people, you don't have to have sight, but you can have vision. And that's what I meant when I had to lose my sight. I had to find my vision. Because when I had sight, I didn't have vision. I was caught up on materialism and all the enjoyment of life, the wrong things of life, things that would kind of lead me into other things that wasn't good for me to be involved in with the different women and the partying and all that. It kind of took me off my my journey, my purpose in life. Because everybody has a purpose. You just got to find it. So Redemption Academy is that purpose now. This is my real work now, to empower people who are dealing with suicide, to empower women who are going through sex trafficking, to empower people that are dealing with alcoholism. It's us coming together and to let people know you can change your life at any moment. It's not over. A lot of people feel because they make a mistake or they don't feel they're being accepted by society, just like I did when I lost my sight, they want to take themselves out of here. They want to give up. And I want to be able to support them when they go through this adversity and let them know, let this adversity make you stronger and you can have another chance at life. And that's why I call it Redemption Academy. And that's what we're going to do in the community.
It will come as no surprise to our listeners, having just spent the last 15 minutes listening to your eloquence, that you are available as a motivational speaker. Tell us how one goes about finding Langford Cunningham for that purpose.
Yes, you can go to my website, blindcitythepodcast.com, or you can reach me at 636-825-9647, or contact me at blindcity314@gmail.com. And with this pandemic right now, a lot of places we're not able to get into the prisons, get into these juvenile detentions, and get into some of these other rehabilitation programs. So, we go through Zoom. That's what we're going to try to work with right now. But our goal is hopefully once this pandemic is over, we can get back out and service these people who are really dealing with adversity in their life or trying to turn their lives around.
Looking one more time at your website, your podcast dealing with issues currently plaguing our communities, wake up the sleeping masses to reality, educate on specific crises in our world and what is actively occurring, motivate those with compassion to be bold enough to take action, build bridges of spiritual hope, and provide a network of resources for those in need and those who are ready to help. What a profound mission you are on.
Hey, all glory to God, Ray. All glory to God, man.
So how often does your podcast get produced, Langford?
Well, we come out once or twice a month, sometimes 3 times. They can go to YouTube, blindcitythepodcast.com, and subscribe to it. And once you subscribe to it, you'll get alerts when we drop a upcoming podcast. You'll get an alert. So please subscribe to YouTube, Blind City, the podcast.
Langford Cunningham, you, sir, are an inspiration to us all. Great to have you on. Hope we can get you back.
Hey, Ray, anything for you, man. I like what you've been doing in the community, man. You're a legend, man. I like your show, Donnybrook, your radio show, and I'm just following behind you, man. You're creating change. I'm right behind you, brother.
Well, thank you. Langford Cunningham from blindcitythepodcast.com. Thank you again. You stay safe and well, and we'll be back in touch.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you so much.